growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Road to Growth listeners. Today we have Silja Thor. The one thing there's so many things I love about doing this podcast. I get to meet great entrepreneurs. I get to hear about their own adversity. I get to hear about their coaching styles. I get to hear about a little about them, and it kind of helps me grow, and hopefully it helps you, the listener, grow. One thing that was really interesting is our guest today, Silja. So Silja, what's your ethnicity? What's your background, Silja?
So what is my background? Yeah, so I'm actually like entrepreneur at heart. So I've had
ethnicity.
Oh, sorry, my background. I'm Icelandic.
Yeah. Icelandic. Well, yeah. Silja is also a first name in Hispanic too, but it's spelled totally different. And so I was just like, when we were getting through that, I was like, oh, Silja, oh my gosh, that's a lovely name, a lovely way of spelling it. So, but yeah, that's totally opposite. But thank you, Silja, for being here, Silja Thor. And yes, I know nine countries, 9 businesses you started. Yeah. And now coaching, writing books, a little bit of everything, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here.
I appreciate you coming on now. So walk us through a little bit of kind of, I know you've had the businesses, you do the coaching, you've had the books. If you're like in an elevator and someone asks, what do you do? Who is Silja? How would you describe yourself?
From a business perspective or personal perspective?
Either way. We'll take 2 elevators. We'll go up and then we'll go back down.
Okay, so I'll take the personal first and then the business one, right? Okay.
Perfect.
Silja, I'm Icelandic. I live in the Netherlands, but I have I'm like a global nomad, lived in 9 countries. I'm a single mom to a beautiful girl, and I would say I'm like an entrepreneur and adventurer at heart. So that's my short one. For the personal one, the business one is way better rehearsed, right?
Well, a question before I get into the business one. How old are your children?
So I only have one daughter. Her name is India. She's 4.5.
Okay. So how many countries has she lived in?
She was born in the Netherlands, but she is half Icelandic, half Australian. But she's been to 17 countries.
Wow. How does that? Do you see? I know, still very young. Yet, do you see a difference when she plays with other kids that maybe only lived in one country?
No, because what she is having this. So I'm Icelandic, like you shared. So when I was growing up, everybody was just basically around me Icelandic. So Iceland is a very, is middle of the Atlantic Ocean, so we're very isolated. So what she's grown up with, very different from me, is she's playing with friends from all different ethnicities, all kind of religions, different countries. So she's just an international kid. Wow. So she has that. So we live in The Hague. It's very expat, very international. So she is like, her friend is, from, one of her best friends is from Morocco. So she has a little bit of that influence. And she has somebody from Estonia, like Eastern European. So she's really lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fantastic. It was a surprising fact. I want to say 10 years ago, I got to get the new number, but 10 years ago, I think it was in the United States, only 20% of Americans had a passport.
Yes.
It was such a low number. And I think when people are able to see other countries, see other people, I think it really does change you a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I finished high school in the US. I lived in New Mexico, and it was a great experience. I loved it. But I think there's also a reason for that. First of all, in Europe, we have 5-6 weeks off a year. That's like the norm, right? You have 1-2 weeks if you're lucky. So it's a really different kind of thing there. But also, US is huge. It's a really, really big country. So you have all the different states. And, what I noticed, at least with my friends and in the US, they kind of tend to be scattered. The family tend to be scattered across different states. So when you have this 1 week, 2 off, you're meeting family, right? Okay. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And then international flights for US is really expensive. Really, like for me to fly to, I don't know, India, or, we go to Australia a lot, it's almost the same as going to US. It's like really the flights both domestic but also international, they're very expensive.
Yeah, and I guess I never thought about the cost, the cost aspect of it, because I know in Europe, I think they still have it Ryanair.
Yeah,
And, that's fairly affordable.
Yeah, so I can go to Spain. I live in Netherlands. I go to Spain for under €100. Like that's like $120 or something, right?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so now we took the elevator up. We got the personal. Now let's get into the business. We're going to elevator down.
Yes. So what do I do? So the short one is I'm a business mentor, and what I do, I help my clients to really align every single piece of their business to them, so their core and the zone of genius. And we really just build the business around their life and not the other way around. So I help them focus what matters, become really profitable, and just really enjoying it. Yeah.
Now, I mean, I would assume, and this is just an assumption, being a single mother, you had to probably even work on that in your own experience to try to figure out how to incorporate. Okay.
Yeah, totally. So the reason is like one of my liner is build your business around your life and not the other way around. It came for a reason because I have been an entrepreneur since I was 20. So it's like 18 years of it. And most of my entrepreneur journey, I was working crazy hours, like a lot of Americans do too. So I was like working 18 hours a day. And when I became a mother, I was running a startup. So we recently got investors on board. It was really exciting. I had a team and our startup was really growing. But then I was going through my divorce at the time, and I really learned this the hard way. I realized, I was dropping India, my daughter, off at daycare, and I realized, hey, I'm always almost the first one dropping her off in the morning and the last one picking her up. And I was like, at the time, I was 100% with her. So her father was back in Australia. And I was like, no, I don't want to lose out on her. And it got so painful. So I decided to exit my startup and build my coaching business. And one of the core things was to build this business around my life so I could spend time with my daughter every single day, but also have enough energy to do that. And that makes, to have some time for myself, to be able to do that and be profitable. So that this was like non-negotiable. And then I did it. I aligned it to me, to my needs, my desires, and also the impact I wanted to create. And I just decided just to operate from my zone of genius and did the rest. And it worked for me and worked for hundreds of my clients.
What do you see the transition from having a startup, your own business, and yes, coaching is your own business, and you're working through these other individuals, other business owners, and helping them accomplish something?
Yeah.
How do you see the difference in your world and your mindset and your
life?
Life?
It is a huge difference. So I had a technology startups mainly, an impact startup. So when you have the startups, first of all, generally you have co-founders with a very different skill set. So you're creating more sort of services or products, and usually as a startup you are kind of creating something with a big exit or big, you maybe go an IPO, which is like, taking it public. So you're creating a lot with a longer term vision on it. And you're very often reliant on outside finances. So it's a very different ball game, I would say. It's really like being a coach is like, this is the first time I run a business on my own. I always had co-founders, but being a coach, I can monetize extremely quickly. As long as I price, position, and package myself. And also if you are a service entrepreneur, like a graphic designer or, copywriter, you can actually monetize really quickly and you're way more flexible. So there is things you can streamline so much more than when you have a startup, because there are so many more elements involved and stakeholders and everything else. I love both. I really do. But this, for me, is more flowing because I feel more in control. And the other one, it was just so many outside kind of stakes involved too. So it was also very exciting, but it's a different ball game. And I think the mindset in the coaching world or the service entrepreneur world versus the startup, it is a tiny bit of a different mindset too. It's like a startup, it's like you're supposed to work crazy long hours.
And so you have less control, I guess, in the startup avenue? Because you have to.
Yeah, I felt so. Whether that is, something I just reflected or, kind of onto that. But that is how I felt. I felt like, I had business partners, I had a technology business partner, I had different business partners. So there is more things to talk about. And that is also great. You have other people with you in it, but we also had investors on board. And when you get like shareholders and investors, it's no longer, you're not running the show alone. Well, in my current business, Silja decides, it happens the day after. I'm the only one who makes decisions. I have a team. Yeah. My business, I own 100% of it.
Now, can you walk us back to that first business? I mean, where did that mindset come from of starting your own business at 20 years old?
It was actually just pure luck. So my father is a businessman. So it's something I did grow up with. But yeah, so I was a cabin crew back then, after university. I took a year off and I was a cabin crew. And it just was a sheer luck. I was about to start university. And I was going to go into politics, and I met this entrepreneur who recently had started this company, and he invited me to join. And that became it was a telecommunication company. So I decided to join that, and I started like one of the franchises, under that company. So when I did that, I knew nothing about business. I started my company, then I got a VAT bill. I didn't even know what VAT, so that's like a value added tax. I'm not sure what do you call it in the US, probably the same. So yeah, it was just like somebody, I was very young and naive, and somebody, kind of, I don't know, saw some potential in me in that way. And
so
I just jumped the gun.
Let me jump back a little bit. So cabin crew, is that like airlines?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so. I was like, I'm pretty sure that, okay. So you're like a stewardess.
Yeah, stewardess.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Cabin crew, I think, sounds more professional though.
Well, you have different names. I used to call it trolley dolly, but it's not very
rich. Trolley dolly?
Yeah. You usually don't hear it, but it's far more than that, right? It's more about safety and everything else, but yeah.
So how did you meet that original partner, I guess? How did you come across that individual in the first place?
Yeah, it was a networking event in London. So I got to know. So it was one of the founders. Got to know her. We got talking, and it kind of just came from there. So it was and I took it very seriously. And I guess he had to deliver on the promise, and there I was.
So are you fairly outgoing? Is that, because I know you said in most of your businesses you've had partners and other people you've kind of worked with. Is it network building, relationship building? Is that kind of a mindset that you've had in your life?
No, actually, I'm an introvert. And this
okay.
Talk with a lot of people. No, I need a lot of alone time, and I used to be very shy. Okay. So as a kid and growing up, I used to struggle a lot, just talking in front of people or talking. So it's not something that came naturally. It's just something I trained in myself.
I can be introvert myself too, and having the podcast, I know it's so funny, and people always ask me in my business too. It's totally different from how I feel. How do you balance that out? Like, do you just look at the idea that you have to be outside, you have to talk to people, and then recharge your battery later on, or how does that process look for you?
Yeah, totally. There are two kind of answers I'm going to give to that. First, it's like this idea of identity, right? So, what I can identify in my businesses is like, what do I need to have in place? So let's say, I need to host workshops or training. So it's just kind of identifying that. And then I just kind of decide that I am a person who feels comfortable doing that. So maybe to give you a little bit better example. So if somebody is a smoker currently, I used to be a smoker, heavy smoker. When I decided to quit smoking, I decided to change my identity. So I became a non-smoker. And then if I'm a non-smoker, smoking just isn't allowed. So that's kind of how I trigger that with myself. Is just I often just adopt a new identity where I want to go, so I feel more comfortable with it. So that's number one. But regarding me being introverted, so when I do like trainings or podcasts or something like that, I navigate my schedule so I have time to recoup before and after, because that makes me really tired of it. Like, I love it, but it's like I can't be with people a lot of the times because I need that alone time to get my energy back and kind of go into my cave. So I kind of navigate that in my schedule. So I've created that because I understand that's who I am. Yeah. And then I just make sure it's a little bit flowing accordingly.
So two questions. So is it that little bit of time before and after? Is it meditation? Is it
Yeah.
a nap? I mean, what does that look like?
Could be different things. Meditation is one of it. I do
Okay.
quite a bit. Nap is another one I do. And often just going out for a walk. Just going
Okay.
a little bit in nature. I live close to a forest and a beach, and it's just kind of giving myself that time.
To recharge. And then going back to the identity of saying, okay, well, you're a smoker now, but
Mhm.
you're focusing on not being a smoker. What does
Yeah.
that look like? Does it, when you're thinking about it throughout the day, is it, what would I do if I wasn't a smoker and how would I
Yeah.
react? Okay.
It's kind of cracking the system, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So what I kind of learned, quite young, and something I'm playing with actually more now is you basically act of who you think you are or who you are. So it's kind of like when you make a decision. So I struggle a lot with quit smoking, for instance. It wasn't until I decided I no longer smoke. So if I no longer smoke, what kind of decisions do I make? How do I act? What kind of habits do I have? Because I no longer smoke in my mind. So that's like a decision. And at the moment I was still smoking and I decided that. Then suddenly, because I know I'm not a smoker, why would I want a cigarette? And then it's kind of like tricky in my mind. And the same kind of event, when I decided to build a very profitable business, I was like, okay, the first goal I had was reach this 10K months, so 10,000 months. And then it was like, I decided to become a person who makes 10,000 a month, and then I would start making a decision accordingly. And then because that became my identity, I started acting like that. Then that became a reality. Right?
How, and mind you, I mean, having a coach is going to allow you to get to this point. I don't know if you
Yeah.
had a coach at that time. Yet for
Mhm.
someone listening right now, right, and they
Mhm.
go, I want to make $1 million a month, whatever the number, a year, $1 million
Yeah.
a year. They maybe don't have the roadmap of what $1 million earner would make in a
No.
year, how they would do it. So
Mhm.
for you at that time, saying I want to make $10,000 a month, and I'm
Yeah.
going to think like that person. How did you find that roadmap of what that person even thinks like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So no, I never had a mentor or coach. And that's the reason, most of my business journey was uphill struggle. It was roller coaster ride because I was basically doing a lot of trial and error. Things really started speeding up for me when I hired my first mentor. Then I shortcutted probably years out of it. So I would never run a business today without having a mentor or a coach, somebody who's few steps ahead because they give you the roadmap, because they kind of have mastered something you haven't, and they can basically spot things way quicker than you and really guide you through that process. So I definitely recommend anybody who is thinking, okay, listen, I want to go into $1 million a year or, 100,000 a year, whatever that is to hire somebody who has already done it, because they know how to do it and they can really help them both with the strategy. It is strategy, but it's a lot to do with mindset, and they can help them with both. And they can really give them a step-by-step process, because a lot of this is just like a little bit when you are cooking. If you have the recipe, you can get the dish. And it's the same here. But when you're kind of trying to figure out how to cook that, particular cake, and you're doing a trial and error, you will get there, but it's going to take you a lot of time.
A question that I mean, I ask more often now, especially when we talk about the idea of coaching. There's so much information out there. There's and probably an abundance of coaching, and there's a lot of variety of coaching. For
Yeah.
someone listening right now, or even for yourself, how do you know you're finding the right coach for you?
Yeah, there are a few things there. So first of all I think you need to like your coach. You need to kind of find a click with that person. So you need to be a little bit attracted to that particular person. You have to kind of, feel a little bit of a click with that person, because otherwise it's going to be difficult, because you'll be spending either time with them one-to-one or in a container or group program. The second one is like, are they living the dream, or have they achieved what you want to achieve? And that's really important. Like, have they done something similar you want to do? So you need to get specific what you want, and what do you want to go to, right? So that's the second thing you need to know is like, do they know their stuff? Do they know how to, if you want to go million or 100,000, have they done that themselves, right? And then they have different this, and then it's like you need to trust them. And that is like where the testimonials and client success stories and everything else come. And you can kind of relate, if you could feel you resonate with some of the testimonials, are you in a similar space? So I think that is a really good one. And I think for a lot of people who are kind of shopping for mentors and coaches, a lot of mentoring coaches, particularly in the coaching, coaching space, and they run like free workshop and challenges. Go attend a few of them, and then you can really start feeling their vibe and really if it hits home for you. But the first step is get specific what you want, what you need, where are the gaps, There are different coaches for so many different things, Do you want a business coach? Or maybe you want a content writing coach or social media. So get very specific. But I would generally say if you are early on entrepreneur, and even though you've been a few years, if you haven't hit your income levels, you probably want something more general to help you with the overall foundational pieces, what I like to call. Because if you're just getting somebody for social media or content, if you don't have that foundation, nothing will work. So you need that foundation very solid. And when you have that, and that's what I see with my clients, things flow easily. And that is when they get clients. A lot of them, my clients, when they join me, they are in like a cycle of feast and famine, or very inconsistent revenue, or really struggling getting clients. And the reason being is not because the strategy they have, is because their offer isn't solid. They're not targeting the right client. They haven't packaged, priced, and positioned themselves. Only after that, it goes to strategy. And that is also really important, to be very, systematic about your strategy, not to throw spaghetti at the wall and just kind of hoping something will stick. It's just doing that. But you need to know who your client is. So you know exactly how to do that in a very calculated way. And then you need to have the mindset to believe it, because, your inner world reflects your outer world. You need to work on those pieces too.
Well, possibly it could also be, like you said, the foundation, right? Where the systems are placed. They can't maintain basically the level of clientele that they're currently getting because their foundation is not solid enough for them to take that on.
Yeah, and you see that a lot with growing businesses. They don't have a system in place either, and then you have a leaky funnel, and they just can't. It's not sustainable. Yeah, definitely.
For yourself, when you transitioned from the startup to your coaching business, how did you come across your first clients? Was it just word of mouth? Was it social media? Where did that come from?
So my first client, so I did a little bit of coaching while I was doing startup. So I had done quite a bit of coaching throughout, because it just, people just, drop me a message and ask for that. But when I started this particular business, I decided to hold a training. So I kind of did a little bit of homework and investigation, and I immediately went to 10,000 months. I was 13,000 euros a month. And it took me a very short time. Within a year, I was at 40,000 months, but because I had done it before. So I kind of, went from there. So that's basically where it. But to answer your question, for most of my clients, who I think a lot of the people listening to this might resonate, everybody has at least 7 clients in the network. And so the first step is just really go through your network, kind of activate the referral network. So you definitely have somebody either on your LinkedIn, on your Facebook, or somebody who knows somebody. And I think that's the smartest way to get clients in the beginning. It's just really go and have a look at your network and see if somebody, would need your help right now, and start doing your investigation.
So it seemed like the transition of building your coaching business was pretty fluid and pretty straightforward. No thoughts of going back to a startup or moving back to another sort of business. It was full steam.
It was a really fluid one. I mean, so first when I exited my startups, I was actually on quite a few projects, and maybe I skipped that one. So I was doing quite a few projects at the time, and then I decided to do this one completely. But it was because I got so fed up, and I felt like, it was kind of do or die, and I just made a decision. And I got really, really clear on what I wanted and my why. So I got really clear, okay, I used to struggle so many years, working so hard, losing out. That's no longer acceptable for me. And I want to help others do that and do that profitable. Because when I was in the startups, I was paying myself crappy salary, So most of my entrepreneur journey sounds really fancy, but I was, financially it was not really good until, things went well and we sold something. But month to month, it was barely breaking even. So that was my why for my clients is I don't want anybody else to struggle the way I did. And the second one, I wanted to have lifestyle desires. I wanted to have time to spend with my daughter. I wanted to be location independent so I could go to Iceland and Australia where her other family is. So I just really got clear on it. And when I had that clarity, the how just magically happened. So the how, clients just start popping in. But I also knew how to market and sell, right? So that's the reason I'm also a business coach, and that's what I do. That's my thing, and I decided my strategy would be workshops and trainings. And that is kind of like how I would invite potential clients. And then I would like wine and dine them in the workshops. They get to know me, know if they like me, know me and trust me. And then I'll make my invitations. And then I've been tweaking that since.
What you said that you're fed up. What happened there that they got you so fed up?
Yeah, it was just, the moment I told you about the daycare situation, that was like the final tipping point. It's like I was losing on my daughter. But it was also just this constant, money just determined my life. My whole life, it was always whether I could afford it or not, because I was paying myself so little. So money was just basically, when people say money doesn't matter, they just haven't worried about money, right? Mm. And money was just really determining my life, and I just got really sick of it. I was a single mom. I was like, oh no, this is not where I'm heading. No. And I decided, I just kind of like, when I quit smoking, it was like, enough, I can't breathe anymore. And it was the same here. It's like, I'm not going to struggle financially anymore, and I'm not going to work so long hours anymore. Life should be enjoyed now, not after 10 years.
No, it makes sense. I mean, I talked to a lot of different people, and passion is, I think, is the key through a lot of people that are starting their business or building a business, is having passion in what you're doing. I've only had one person on here that said you couldn't have passion or love in your business. Not everyone can do it. And I was like, whoa, let's roll this back a little bit. But no, I totally agree. I mean, your life should help you. Your business should help you enjoy your life. If you could look back on your past, maybe that 20-year-old cart pusher, stewardess, right? Yeah. It's all, what advice would you give her?
Hire a mentor.
Hire a mentor. Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, if I would have hired a mentor much earlier, I would say 80% of the mistakes I did, the trial and error, would have gone. I wouldn't be doing the roller coaster ride. A lot of decisions, a lot of mistakes I made were very amateur if I look back, right? It was a learning curve, and I'm really grateful for that. But a lot of things business-wise, I was just basically throwing spaghetti at the wall, and then I learned something, and then I started a new business. It was the same. If I would have had a mentor, I would have fast-tracked a lot of things.
Do you recall some of the mistakes that you went to? I know the edge and the flow, throwing spaghetti at the wall. Are there any specifics that you kind of recall?
Yeah, quite a few. So first of all, I never really had a financial clarity, and that is something really important. So it's something, I had a very, very twisted relationship with money. I never really had a financial clarity. So that's like number one. You need to be clear on your finances. And even if you have a business where you have accountants or whatever, you need to know your finances. And I learned that really the hard way. So that's like a number one. Number two is really make sure who you are involved with in your business, and really follow your gut feeling there. So, I only once luckily had, onboarded the wrong client for me, but that was a nightmare client. But I knew it beforehand because my body was telling me that. So just listen to your body, just really be particular. Things are not going to get better if you see warning signs immediately. So do not ignore red flags. And it's the same in relationships, right? So this is something I definitely do. And then you gotta have a strategy. You gotta have a strategy, and you need to test and tweak, and you need to be on top of that. It's not just like you have a strategy and then you kind of go either blindly for it, or you have a strategy and you change it every week. But you gotta play it smart instead of hard. And do validation. That's another one. It's like before you start something, make sure it is exactly what your ideal clients want, needs, and can't resist, and something you love to do before you actually do it. Because a lot of the things, a lot of startups particularly, they kind of don't do that, and then there's no market for it, or there's no desire for it, or it's maybe not what you loved. So if I would do, these are kind of the things I would really go back to again. And this is all, like I say, if I would have had a mentor, they would have told me all of this.
If let's say we're talking to Silja in 5 years from now,
Mhm.
what's the company look like? What are you going to look like? Where are you going to be living at that time?
Yeah, we're going to be living. Obviously, still in Netherlands. So we decided to stay here. So that's a great one. So 5 years, that's such an exciting time. So a company is going to be a multi-million, euros, dollars company. I vision myself, I would vision myself to continue on the journey I am. I've been focusing a lot more on like a money expansion and looking at money as like this art, this self-funded kind of wealth creation. So I definitely think I'll be expanding and made some sort of a program about money and wealth creation, which I'm kind of starting now. So I think I'll be known for that. Then, and I would also still have my signature program, business growth. I think I would definitely keep the personalization I have in my program. But yes, I'll have a multi-million-dollar business, be known for the self-funded wealth creation, and I probably would have written a book by that point about money.
Do you think, because I know a lot of your business or your model is workshops.
Mm.
Do you have other coaches underneath you or how does that process look like for expansion? Is it simply you as the focal point with the workshops? Is it other coaches under the Silja brand, or how does that look like?
Yeah. So how a business looks right now is, I have a 6 months mentorship program, which is basically me mentoring them. But I do have amazing client success manager, and her name is Charlene. So what we do is like in my program is all about personalization. So they have like a library, content library. They have access to all the trainings. But we have a hot seat call, which is basically where we tweak and help them, kind of either strategy or some sort of, if they're blocked about something, we do that. And that is me. But then with Charlene, they also have accountability and like step-by-step guidance. So I do have her support. And then we also have a technical support in our program. So it is a little bit centered about me. That's like my brand. But I have a team and support behind it. But it is set because I have a group program. It's really also this dynamic of a group, and it's incredible how they also support and help each other, my clients. So it's a really fantastic journey they have.
You give your clients the tools, and they still get that one-on-one or that approach from you directly from
yourself. So they get the strategy, they get the framework, and they get all the guidance, but they also get the tweaks and personalization. So it's a really hybrid kind of between this one-to-one programs and group programs we created. And that's something I love and want to, continue and fostering as well. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go back. One last question to finish it all. Now, you've been to multiple countries. You've probably traveled to even more so. If you had to leave the Netherlands, you couldn't go there. They kicked you out of the Netherlands. What country would you move to?
India.
Okay.
Yeah, I have, I would definitely if I could, I'm stuck here, but we are co-parenting. So, we decided the Netherlands, but India would be the country I lived in. I have such a love affair with that country.
Walk us through maybe people that haven't been to India or what to look for, why you love it. That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. It is just something very special about this country. It's like a country of the polar opposite. So you have the most amazing smells and sensation there, and then you have like a sewage smell. It's just such I don't know. It just gets you to every single level of you. Like you have this beauty, and then you have this extreme poverty, and but the people are the most amazing, good-hearted people I have ever experienced. Like they're so generous, they're so kind. There's something so magical about a lot of the Indian are Hindu and the rest is Muslim and Sikh and all of that. But it's such a magical vibe in that country. I can't really explain it, but it is the sensations you have. And then the food is incredible. Indian food is like, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, any last words that you want to throw out there, Silja?
Yeah, just maybe if somebody's listening to this, whatever you believe, I know it sounds like really cliche, but whatever you believe, you can create. And I believe if you ever desire something, that is a reason for it. And then it can definitely be something you can create as well. So I don't think we can ever desire something except there's actually a possibility. So it's like, it's all comes to decision. So if you really want something, it's just you deciding, hey, that's what I'm going to do. And then you figure out the way.
flip that switch and go for it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Silja.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. And hopefully everyone listening got some great nuggets. Follow Silja, reach out to Silja, go to one of our workshops. Our information is in the show notes. And please subscribe, please share, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.